So we worked with, in 2002 with the Lib Dems to work up the policy that you currently have, which is pretty damn good. But it hasn't been used. It hasn't been campaigned on to any great extent. And to a great extent, it's actually become a liability on the doorstep. And what I would suggest, and we have been for a number of years, I sat down with Nick Clegg when he was head of the Home Affairs team to suggest that you go onto the front foot with this issue. You didn't, and you continue to take flack on it. And I think that one of the important things here is the recognition, and I'm not going to go over any of the things that Graham summed up very well, the problems that the war on drugs produces, and the obvious and immediate benefits that regulating democratically through government institutions the trade would produce. It just removes all the stuff that he said. So it's a no-brainer in terms of moving forward. But the question is, how can the Lib Dems move forward and actually take this forward as a significant policy issue, take it out to the general public, work with it within the party, and actually start, basically move it from a shield issue to a sword issue. And we've got a briefing here that suggests why and how that might be done. But it's moving from the back foot to the front foot. You've taken flack on it for being soft on drugs, when actually the policy is tough on drugs. It's tough on crime, it's tough on organised crime, it's tough on narco-terrorism. It's a tough policy. But because of the way that the Lib Dems have operated with it, you've taken flack on it. It's ridiculous. So you've taken on a progressive position and then taken flack. It's the wrong way round. So I'm going to suggest that you do need to move onto the front foot, because you're going to take crap on it next time. There's an election coming up in not that many months now. And if you can get sorted out in time for that election, you will not be accused of being soft on drugs. That then goes off the agenda. And for marginal constituencies, that's a significant issue. And we can help out here. Amongst the stuff that I've brought, there's a booklet there called Tools for the Debate, which was aimed specifically at parliamentarians, but PPCs could be, and anyone standing for council, anything, who wants to use this as a sword rather than a shield, to actually go out and argue the toss. We've been doing this for 12 years. We don't lose debates anymore. And that's, basically, it takes you through all the key issues and shows you how you can do it. So I would encourage people to take that away with them and learn the ropes. Wrong phrase. Now I've got learn the ropes and then you can go and hang yourself. But you can go and hang other people with it. What you can do is go onto the offensive and really take political opponents apart for being soft on drugs, for running a policy that gifts the trade to organised criminals, to paramilitaries, to unregulated dealers, and has created a situation that's destroyed urban areas all over the world. It's, the way that we do it, we're never going to be accused of being soft on anything. We're anti-mafia, we're pro-government control, so there's a way of working this that you can be on the front foot, and I think that's an important message I'd like people to take away this evening. One of the things that resonated with me is the idea of the government's balls and not having the balls to move forward on this. The Liberal Democrats could equally be accused of that at the moment. And I'm being quite tough here because I think that I've done this a few times now, and I'm up for, if people want to come back and argue the toss on this one, please do. But I think that what you've done is move forward. You've had the courage to take on the policy without having the balls to move forward and actually go out and sell it to the public. And we can do that. We can help you do that at whatever level. In the hot seat on Newsnight, on doorsteps in terms of canvassing and campaigning, anywhere. Just some of the specifics here in terms of what you might take forward. Now, one of the things that we thought was key that the Lib Dems take on when you rewrote your policy in 2002 was the idea of what in the policy I think is called an audit, the need for a regular audit of whether the policy is effective, and that would count both for prohibition, regulation, decriminalisation, whatever. Now, one of the things that's anathema within the current situation, given that it's a war, wars don't get evaluated. It just doesn't happen. And the government isn't interested in ever doing that. You identify a threat and you go out and fight, and the fight is the important thing, not winning. Yeah? So that's what we have now. So it doesn't matter whether you're winning or not. It's certainly in terms of the war on drugs, the war on terror, anything that you set up with that kind of dynamic. So one of the things that we think is useful for exposing this, the lack of evaluation, the lack of science that's been talked about earlier, is the call for what we're now calling an impact assessment. And it's a slightly more up-to-date and sophisticated version of the call for an audit. It moves away from the kind of monetisation that audit suggests. So what we're suggesting, if people aren't happy with calling for regulation and control on the doorsteps, which, as I say, is a very strong card to be able to play if you know how to argue for it, but an impact assessment exposes the policy of prohibition and the war for what it is, in terms of it being unscientific, unevaluated, and something that's fought for the sake of it, and for gaining political capital as well. But it exposes it very strongly. So one of the things that happened recently was my friend Lemit Opik came up for Prime Minister's questions, and we briefed him, and one of the things that we suggested that he call on the government to do is to conduct an impact assessment. He also very smartly asked for a meeting with Gordon Brown, which I went along with him to, and handed over a briefing to Gordon Brown, which if I haven't brought copies along I can send to anybody here. So there's a one-pager with a two-page appendix. It's very brief, but very clearly shows why we need an impact assessment. So I got my 5 minutes with Gordon, and I haven't had a reply yet, which I'm taking as a good sign so far. My guess is that ultimately I will get a reply from the Home Office saying that the government is not minded to legalise drugs and give me the same old flim-flam that it's given me for the last 12 years. But I think that what it does do, see, if I'd asked Gordon Brown to consider the legalisation of drugs, he would have said no on the spot. But asking him to conduct an impact assessment, his only answer was to say, I'll consider it. And that is a completely different position than just blowing you out of the water for asking for something that's beyond the pale at the moment. So impact assessment is a key way forward, and we're happy to help in terms of working that up in terms of a campaigning position. It's something that's already within Lib Dem policy. It doesn't step you out of the current parameters of your own position. It's standard technology within government now. All new legislation is supposed to have an impact assessment attached to it. And what an impact assessment does is look at a do-nothing scenario and then look at the outcomes. The impact of the legislation itself, and it's supposed to consider two alternative, or at least one alternative, but potentially a number of alternative scenarios that could achieve better results. It's perfect technology for examining the status quo with potential alternatives, and something that is absolutely compelling in all the situations that I've used it in so far. The other one is we have done some work in this area. We produced a cost-benefit analysis a few months ago. Back of the matchbox stuff, there's not a lot of evidence around here, but using Home Office figures, we were showing savings of between, depending on the levels of increase in drug use post-prohibition, savings of between 5 and 15 billion pounds, something of that order. So it's quite compelling economically. I wouldn't run it hard as an economic issue because I think it's a very human issue that we can win significant supporters on the basis that prohibition kills people and damages the most disadvantaged people all over the world. So the monetary arguments aren't the best, I don't think, but we've got that to back us up as well. There's a lot of materials there. There's a lot more on our website if you want to take a look. And we're happy to help on a kind of individual basis and on a party political basis at whatever level. So as I say, the important thing for me this evening is to raise the importance of this issue up the Liberal Democrats' agenda to make it more important than it currently is. It's a liberal issue. Prohibition is anathema to freedom, apart from anything else, on so many different levels. In terms of the way that it operates, that Graham elucidated so well earlier. And it is something that you will win votes on. And it's something that will hurt you if you remain on the back foot. Look, do come and see me afterwards. Go and chat to Ewan afterwards. Ewan's going to be working obviously within the party. We will work without to provide advice and help. But please do get involved. raise it up the agenda, and make sure that the Lib Dems get behind this before the next general election. Thank you.